Pure revenge. Mark and Tom were two of the best friends anybody had ever seen. But one day, Tom pulled one of the most intricate pranks on Mark, and that was a big mistake. Tom was a tall, white English boy, and Mark was a short, skinny boy of Indian descent. Tom decided to use the fact to pull a racist prank on Mark. He would invite Mark to visit his uncle in his country house and pretend he was racist and hated Indians. So he invited Mark for a weekend getaway at his uncle's country home. He warned him that his uncle was very old-fashioned, but Mark didn't make much of it. The plan was to convince Mark that his uncle was an aggressive, racist old man. He wanted Mark to feel scared and have a restless weekend. The week before their weekend getaway, Tom and his uncle prepared the house, going through rigorous setup to make the house look like a racist man's house. The day of the trip, they went to the country house as planned. When Mark saw the house from a distance, he seemed pleased. He thought that his uncle must have been affluent, because the house and the surrounding land were stunning and tasteful. They parked the car in front of the very large house, and that's when the old man came out of the house to greet the boys. But as he approached, he took Tom to the side and whispered something to him. He then proceeded to give Mark a very forced handshake. He had an intense look on his face, as if there were a problem. Mark started to wonder what was wrong, but just continued to go and take his duffel bag from the car. As the weekend went on, Mark started to notice strange things about the old man, and also that many of the photos hanging on the wall had Indian servants in them. It seemed rather peculiar. By the end of the weekend, Mark really believed that Tom's uncle was racist and hated Indian people. So just before they left, Mark asked Tom if his uncle indeed was racist. Right then, Tom called over his uncle and told him that the perfect time had come. They told Mark all about this fabulous plan and how it had worked to perfection. A few weeks later, Tom received a phone call from Mark's parents to tell him that Mark had been run over by a car and that he was in hospital. They offered to come and pick him up on their way to the hospital, and he agreed. Tom felt absolutely terrible. He waited in front of his house with an impatient look on his face. 5 minutes later, Mark arrived, shouting, "Got you!" And that had been the best revenge ever